Collector's Vault at Chasen Galleries.
Okay, welcome to Collector's Vault at Chasen Galleries. This is episode 11. My name is James, and I'm giddy because I've been looking forward to this interview for so long, and I'm here with the glass artist, Nic McGuire. Hey, Nick, how are you?
Hey, James. Good to be here with you, man.
Same here. Now, I was originally I had a whole series of questions about your studio that we're going to be in your studio, but I heard that didn't work out tonight. So why don't I just start by saying, where are you? Because you are somewhere on the West Coast, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I'm in Palma Valley, which is in the countryside of San Diego. And so I'm still a San Diego resident. I grew up in San Diego, and so hold the place dear to me and influenced a lot of my work in the coastal region. And so now my wife and I moved out to the countryside, and we're kind of a little slower pace, but we're surrounded by nature. And it's beautiful out here. I can really, focus on the work and the craft and make quality things out here.
It's funny you say in the countryside. So I've been to San Diego a few times, and I always think of is it Coronado, the island, or the peninsula of Coronado?
Yeah.
That's what I think of, and I think of Navy planes doing exercises over. But that's not where you are.
No, I'm about 50 miles from downtown in the outskirts of the northeast border of San Diego, and it's like it's an agricultural valley, and we have a bunch of avocado and citrus trees all around us in this valley, which produces a bunch of fruit. And so most people in San Diego don't even know this is a part of their own county. But you know what? It's a beautiful place, and it's not too far away to drive anywhere we need to go.
That sounds awesome. Can you walk out back and pick an avocado if you needed to?
Exactly. Yeah.
So we have a bunch of
we do. We have avocado trees in our backyard. Right up front. Yeah, it's pretty cool. A lot of fruit. Yeah, a lot of fruit.
And you grew up in that area, or?
I grew up in Encinitas, which is in North County, San Diego, and it was a great place to live. It's very family friendly. It's safe. It's coastal living. A lot of the beach. Grew up going to the beach, and so going the water a lot, and just really enjoying that ocean access that. I came to take for granted, but once I became an adult and traveled more, I realized, that was pretty special. So I really try to connect with that, and I like to go, swimming in the ocean frequently, and fishing and all that. So it's just a great place to connect with, especially you work all week, and then on the weekends you can go and connect with the ocean and de-stress. It's awesome.
That's amazing. So what first drew you to glass? Were you always into glass, or did you have another medium prior to glass?
That's a great question, James. So I've always known I was drawn to being an artist. I love being creative and stuff, and since I was a child. And in college, I was like, I love painting. I think I want to be the next Salvador Dali. I love Dali's surrealism and his painting, and he's so good at what he does. That was really inspiring to me. So then I started painting, and I did metal work, I did some ceramics and some woodwork, but I was like, let's try to diversify into other materials. And so I just signed up for this glass class in community college, and showed up. I didn't even know what I was signing up for. I showed up the first day, and there's these glowing orange furnaces, and they're like, you're gonna go stick a piece of metal in there and pull out molten glass. And I was blowing my mind. I'm like, this is crazy. And there's something about that heat that humans are drawn to, on a an internal level, and it just draws you in, the fire. And so I was drawn to it. It was challenging, and I appreciate that challenge at the time. When you're a young adult trying to find your way, sometimes you need that fire under your seat to kind of motivate you. And that was what kind of did it for me. Wonderful. It was an interesting material to work with.
Do you have other relatives perhaps in the in artists at all, or was it all?
Yeah, I've had a few extended family members that are artists, but for the most part, it's my great grandmother was an art painter. But other than that, in my family, it's just me. Gotcha. It's kind of my own path. It's pretty awesome.
Good. You're breaking grounds for the family. I love it. When I think of you, I always think of the feathers, and I see the feathers over your shoulder. Where did that theme actually come from? What made you start with the feathers? Or did you start with the feathers? Perhaps you started with something else and then said, oh, it transitioned into the feathers.
For me, my sculptures, if there's a message, but for me, each sculpture is like something to experience. And so imagine, if you will, like, you're outside in the nature in the afternoon, like late afternoon, and you look up and it's a sunny day and like a bird flies overhead. And as the bird flies overhead, the bird flies between you and the sun. And as the sun rays go through that bird's wing, the light illuminates the wing, and then you have this like glowing like feathers, And so for me, when I make these feathers, it reminds me of like the birds, like it's flying around, and I want you to focus on like one aspect of the animal, not just the whole animal, but like I want you to like isolate that one part of the animal, the feather. And so when you do that, you're able to kind of like, draw into the idea, like, what is this, what does this do to the rest of the bird? And, it helps it, fly. So it gives you a sense of flight. Mm-hmm. And it's really something that, for an artist trying to like, what is the message I'm putting out there? Like, we're busy, our lives are busy. And so we can calm our minds, we can focus them on one thing and kind of contemplate it. That is like really great. It's a great thing for me to accomplish. So when I can get people to kind of like, calm down and like just like focus their mind on like one simple fluid object, like I feel like I did my job right.
Oh yeah, I could see that. I mean, I like the way you described the process, because if I saw the whole bird in flight, it just would not have the impact, I don't believe, as just seeing one of your feathers suspended on a stand the way you do. Like, to me, that's your statement. And how do you come up, like, how does that concept begin that you say? Do you always say, this is what I'm going to do from beginning to end, or does it morph as you're working with the glass?
So when I make these feathers, I'm well aware that I bring something to the table, and then the glass brings something to the table, and I want to work with the glass to create this sculpture. So as much as I have influence and I have, control over the material, I let the material speak and flow. And so when I worked with the glass, the sculpture turns out way better. It has much more interesting curves and things that I never would have anticipated. So I definitely work with the glass to create these sculptures instead of just like totally trying to control everything. So when you do that, glass is an interesting material in that they say it has a memory, and every mark you put on the glass, you will see it later. Mm-hmm. And so when I go into the studio, I know you gotta have a clear mindset and like really like, focus my intentions. And so when I'm able to kind of like get in my flow state when I'm making these feathers, they turn out really nice. But if I'm like not feeling it, or I'm like distracted, or like I'm feeling sick or ill, then like the feathers they just don't have the same like essence or same energy that they would if I was feeling really focused and like really intended to do that. So it does matter how I approach the material, and I do enjoy the material having a role in what the end of it looks like.
Do you sketch out? Or do you have like?
I do.
I understand everything you said, but do you have sort of an idea at first, and then you let the glass take its course?
I do that. I mean, I definitely have I do sketch in a sketchbook and stuff, and kind of like different curves or different shapes and different patterns. For me, I've been focusing the last few years on my patterns to try to elevate the complexity of the feathers, so that they truly are a unique thing that only I create. And I've been enjoying playing with colors in different sizes of the patterns and stuff. So when people look at this thing, they're like, "Wow, that's like I've never seen anything like that before." Because like there's a lot of cool colors out there, and I love glass colors, especially the transparent glass colors, because you really are looking at like pure light when you look at the colors. When I was a painter, I used to spend a lot of time just like putting the paints together and mixing them and like finding like a new color, And so for the glass, you're able to melt those colors together and really get great, rich, enhanced brilliance through the light of the color.
All right. So you said something that just triggered a thought in my mind. And if I know Andrew Chasen's listening to this, or when he watches this, he will think the same thing. Have you ever thought to show your sketches frame sketches alongside pieces of glass?
I think one day we will have that a little more exhibited and stuff. But for now, we just focus on the sculptures and stuff, and I keep the the sketches and all that, like, behind the scenes and stuff.
I get it, but I'm telling you, I think that would be brilliant. Like, and then your next show, and I'm going to put this out there. I will take.
We could try. We could introduce a few of those things for sure. Because that would be pretty cool to see it.
I think it would be brilliant. A pencil sketch or charcoal, whatever medium you work in. I think people would say, I want that glass and that sketch to go with it, because
they would go hand in hand.
Oh, for sure. And you mentioned Dolly earlier.
For me,
Dolly sketches are as important as his finished pieces to some extent, because you're seeing what's in the here and then the finished piece. So, all right, I'm getting off my.
Yeah, I hear you on that. Like, yeah, you do definitely get like in the mind of the creator when you see the sketches. You see like the raw data before it gets compiled into the final piece. There's definitely something said about that. Glasses, the blown glass is really interesting in that you're very limited in the scope of what you're able to create with the material, versus like, say you're doing like a bronze or something, you're gonna sculpt that clay. You have a lot of time to sculpt the clay and get really specific details. But the glass, you're really limited on like timing, and temperature and heat and like studio access. And so I am much more than just a glass artist. Like, I do other materials and craft and stuff, but for me it's very challenging to work through the glass itself. So it's one of the biggest challenges of glass is that you do have this narrow window to work through, and how you present any idea through that is way more difficult than like creating a painting, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's interesting, and the unpredictability of glass. If I was looking at any kind of an analogy, and I have never worked with glass or even honestly have been in a glass studio. However, representing glass artists, I've watched videos on the process. It seems very similar to an extent to watercolor, where you have a wet sheet of paper and you could put a color down, and then the paint says, I'm going to go over here. And you're like, you're not expecting that. Is that similar?
Very much so.
Is it right?
That's a great analogy. Yeah, that's a great analogy, because like that watercolor, what you put down is what you see, and like, you can't just like go covered up with more color, like you're going to see it all. So it's either that one, you finish that one and that's what it is. And then if you want to change it, you got to do a whole other one to change anything, the next phase to reconfigure it, for sure. Yeah.
That's interesting. So when you had mentioned painting earlier, and I did not realize that maybe you started, what was your painting approach prior to working with glass?
Oh, I liked oil paints, because you could really just mix those colors really well and get really nice, fades and stuff like that. I like surreal looking things, dreamscape sort of ideas.
Nice.
I did some abstract, some figurative, but mostly like things you would see in a dream, kind of, hyper dimensions and like, elongated forms, people like in different colors. For me, color, I'm really drawn to color. And so like color expresses emotions. And so when you present like a person, but instead of them being like, skin toned, that they like, they're green or they're kind of blue or like yellow, different colors on their body, like humans, you pick up on that. Like, we're so accustomed to seeing people like in normal natural light and normal natural colors, that when you see people like hyper colorized or something, like you have a whole different like thought about what they're doing, or what their state is.
Sure. And so as far as color goes, do you think of your color as you're working on a piece of glass? Like, does the impression that you want of that feather, is that dictated by a potential color that you should decide to use?
Yeah, I would say I think I probably overthink the color that I put in the feathers or the other sculptures and stuff, and that for sure that that's a critical to me, is how much color is on that, the saturation of it, the intensity of it. Because when it's really rich or it's really light, like that totally changes the emotion that it evokes in the viewer. Mm-hmm. And I'd like to present a sculpture, and that here's like one feather, like your imagination creates the rest of the bird, or like here's one aspect, and like the viewer builds the rest of rest in their head of like what they're looking at, because I think it's important that we, evoke and influence like creative thought. For me as an artist, and I'm here to help people, enjoy their lives more, enrich their space with something that's beautiful or something that they can look at and be fascinated by, that, something like a new perspective on just like everyday things they see in their life.
100%. And in having sold your work in the gallery in Chasen's, I don't think I've ever seen a reaction to glass the way I've seen it to yours, because it's just so creative and unique. So kudos to you for that. As you're working, do you ever have a situation where you have a glass that says, "I'm not working for you today"? And then what is that? What do you do when that happens? Like, you're thinking the feather is going to be on a pedestal and the feather says, "I'm going to make a left turn," or something like that.
What's funny, but James, that happened to me yesterday.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm working with, I work with this, I have a 3-man team. I'm working with, 2 of the people, and we're working on this feather, and I'm thinking it's gonna go this way. And instead of this way, it went that way. And at that point, in real time, you just gotta pivot and go with it. Because if you fight it, like I said, if you fight the glass, it's gonna win. And so I'm like, okay, you wanna go that way? I will allow you to go that way, and I will run with you that way.
I think that's
so you gotta make a decision just like that, and then go with it. So that's part of being, having the experience to know when to make that call. Like, hey, it's really we're not able to bring it back to what we originally intended, and to go in a different direction, and allow that to happen. It's a lot of release. It's like you're sacrificing your own, whatever you want to call it, to get there, but it's important to make that in real time.
For sure. And do you have, so you work with assistants, like you have people that help you out, like as you're working, or is this something totally?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I work with several people. I have a great team. I have a really good people, that I'm surrounded by, that I'm grateful for. They're my extra hands, they're my extra eyes, they're my extra everything. And they really encourage me to continue to do what I do. And they all, they all understand, what we're doing and why we're doing it. And so I try to make it, like it's a win-win for everybody. The people that work with me to make my work, I open my studio to them, to have them, make their work. And so it's this great relationship with all the people that I work with to, like it's not just what can you do for me, but it's like, what can I do for you as well?
So would these be considered as well as assistants, apprentices? Like, in other words, are these people that are learning the craft and learning from you, or
a few people, people at different stages, different points in their, like if they're artists and they're moving on to a career, then there's definitely an apprenticeship that I value that, because I have mentors myself that even in not just in glass, but in other disciplines of art craft, like painting, or other types of sculptures, that are further along, that I'm always asking and calling questions like, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? What should I do in this situation? Because there's a lot of situations that I come across that I've never experienced before, that they have, and that they share their wisdom with me. And it's just, that's sort of thing. And then, it's fun. It's really great, and just, the things you discover along the road, and who you get to travel with, it's all about the journey through the art world.
Sure. And that's the camaraderie too. Like, I know a lot of artists that are in studios where there could be 15 people in the building, and they'll call over and say, what do you think of this piece, or give me some direction, and I could see how, like, you might benefit from that, or everybody benefits, honestly.
Oh yeah, I mean, Andrew just had a great show last month, the International Glass Show, and he had a dozen artists come over to his gallery at the Mark, and it was so much fun to meet the clients, but it was also great to to speak with the other artists about I don't know, like, what's your studio, how are things going with you, what about this material, and just like talk about relations and like see where everyone else is at, because it's good to get a pulse on like what everyone else is doing at the current time.
Yeah, that's very cool. So before I wrap up, I'm looking at how tan you are, and I'm like, all right, I'm in Raleigh, North Carolina, and I'm thinking this gentleman's in California. I need to get some color in me. So good.
Oh yeah,
That's awesome. You're out.
if you want to come out and pick some avocados, James, just come on out. During avocado season, we got plenty of trees to pick them.
Yeah, I might take you up on that. So, in finishing up, what's what's been your experience with Chasen Galleries? I mean, you mentioned the International Glass Weekend. That was amazing. But in general, you like working with Andrew and Mark, I know, is a treat, right? They're special.
Yeah. Andrew and Mark, one thing I really value about them is they're so professional and how they, conduct their business. And for me being an artist, and like being, like the emotional artist, whatever, it's great to have someone who's like, like a rock that's like, very steady. Andrew's always available on the phone to talk to you about if we have questions. And there's the way they do things is like, it's really top notch. And so they're really good at communicating with not only the artists but the clients and stuff. And I feel like he really understands how to present the artwork to the people that want it in their homes.
Yeah.
And so when you got something special like that, you want to be around that. And so it's great to be around Andrew and Mark and be part of their program.
I'm so glad to hear that. And again, I've known them both for so many years, so I'm wondering, that's just great to hear. As we finish up, what I'm going to do is I'll put your link up to Chasen Galleries in the comments section so people can see your portfolio. I'm going to dude you because I know you're from San Diego, but dude, I was so happy talking to you because, again, having sold your work, known your work, this was a treat. So everybody, Nic McGuire, thrilled to have him here. And again, you want to see his work, you got to get over to Southside Village, Chasen Galleries in Southside Village. You'll see a nice collection there. And Nic, again, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you, James. It's been great talking to you.
All right, same.
All right.